What if your way out of a frozen dystopia wasn't through weapons or gadgets, but by frying illegal eggs? That's the bizarre premise of Arctic Eggs, one of the strangest and most fascinating indie games for me. A colorful mix of physics-based cooking simulation and a dystopian sci-fi world. And somehow, it all works perfectly. Since Arctic Eggs is not only a true indie gem, but also one of my favorite games that I've ever played, I want to explore on how this game builds its world. This doesn't happen through long cutscenes or heavy lore dumps, which some other games in the world of cyberpunk rely on, but through atmosphere, tiny details, and the simple yet chaotic act of cooking eggs. Arctic Eggs takes place in a bleak, futuristic Antarctica. Imagine yourself a prison colony, hidden in fog, surrounded by brutalist architecture and an endless field of ice and snow. You play as a so-called poultry prepper, basically someone stuck here, trying to survive and maybe even escape. But here's what sets Arctic Eggs apart. Survival doesn't come from scavenging or fighting, it comes from the simple act of frying eggs. With nothing more than your frying pan, your task is made clear from the start, to satisfy the appetite of others. Each meal you serve, each time you spin the ingredients on your pan, it becomes a tiny act of resistance in this bleak future, and maybe a step towards freedom. What makes this setting work for me is how it feels to be there. These low-resolution visuals with the differing effect, a lot of neon, it makes the game almost feel retro, reminding me of games that I also loved, like the old Gothic games from Piranha Bytes or other Spyro titles on the Game Boy. Brutalist buildings loom out of the fog. Everything looks decayed, cold, and on the first sight, kind of hostile. That minimal approach to style not only benefits the developer by being just faster and easier to develop, it actually makes the world feel heavier. Every pixel is carrying the weight of the environment. And then there's the sound design. When egg and bacon hits the pan, the sizzling of the fat being exaggerated when the soundtrack becomes ambient. This affirming splash of an egg being cooked on both sides. The ball-like sound a pufferfish makes while trying to escape its ultimate demise. Not everything sounds realistic, but it doesn't have to, it just fits. The soundtrack is phenomenal in my opinion. It's not unsettling at all. In fact, it makes me want to spend even more time in this world. I even listened to the Ost while driving the Autobahn, which I can highly recommend. Café Mason and North 2120, of course, being the highlights. And of course, I want to talk about the people you meet. In the middle of this frozen city, strangers appear. Tired, hungry, waiting for food. You cook for them. You hand over the dish that they ordered, and in that small exchange, it feels like you've touched another life, helped someone out. No branching dialogue trees, no exposition dumps, just a gesture that says everything. Of course, I have to mention that the writing in this game is funny as hell. Small one-liners making you smile or even laugh while experiencing this dystopian city, which makes you want to actually talk to anybody, which is pretty rare for a video game. But the real magic of Arctic Eggs is how its gameplay tells the story. The cooking isn't really smooth or polished, not even complex for that matter. It's physics-based, clumsy, and, at least at the beginning, unpredictable. The pan wobbles, the egg slides around, sometimes it falls down. either because you viewed it incorrectly or because you wanted to save another item sliding on the other side of the pan. And that fragility feels intentional. Every little mistake you make mirrors the instability of life in this frozen dystopia. But there being no real time limit for missions or a limited number of tries adds hope or sort of content in a way to the mechanic. People aren't mad at you or get angry because you didn't manage to do it an X number of tries. They give you the time and the space to do your work. What I also love is how the game makes improvisation part of the experience. You're not just following a recipe, like in any other cooking games. You're adapting, reacting and balancing. And in that way, cooking becomes a metaphor for life in this world. Freedom here isn't handed to you. You cook it, awkwardly, one meal at a time. As a player, you really feel this world through the challenge of keeping an egg from slipping away. That tension makes the setting believable. It's cold, it's unstable, it's unforgiving, just like life itself. The game proves that you don't need a giant open world or a massive script to create meaning. Sometimes all it takes is a frying pan, an egg, and a cyberpunk city to cook. To me, Arctic X is more than just a quirky physics game. It's a metaphor for life itself and finding freedom in the most unlikely places. The game transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary, and it stays with you long after you put the pen down.